In the shadowy world of international espionage, a chilling headline emerged in March 2023. An American journalist, Evan Gershkovich, found himself ensnared in Russia's iron grip, detained on charges of espionage. This was no ordinary arrest. For the first time since the Cold War, a journalist working for an American outlet was accused of such a grave crime on Russian soil. The world watched, aghast and alarmed, as the news reverberated across continents, sparking widespread condemnation. This arrest, however, is just the tip of a much larger iceberg. Let's delve deeper into the story of Evan Gershkovich. Born and bred in America, Evan Gershkovich's journey to Russia was far from ordinary. His story begins in a small town in the United States where his love for journalism first took root. Engrossed by the world around him, Evan found himself drawn to the stories that needed to be told, the tales that were often overlooked. His passion for journalism led him to higher education in the field, where he honed his skills and nurtured his talent. With a degree in hand, Evan was ready to dive into the world of journalism, but instead of choosing the well-trodden path, he chose to venture into the unfamiliar, moving halfway across the world to Russia. He was captivated by the country's rich history, its culture, and the stories that lay untold. Upon his arrival in Russia, Evan faced the daunting task of establishing himself in a foreign country. But he was not deterred. He started off small, working for local news outlets, covering stories of everyday life in Russia. His fluency in the Russian language, combined with his ability to form deep connections with the people, allowed him to see and portray Russia in a way that few foreign journalists could. Over time, his work started gaining recognition. His insightful articles and reports painted a vivid picture of Russia, its people, and its politics. This recognition led to a position with the Wall Street Journal, where he continued to cover a range of topics from social issues to political events. His journalistic style, characterized by empathy and a deep understanding of the Russian society, earned him respect both domestically and internationally. But Evan's work was not without risk. Journalism in Russia was, and still is, a dangerous profession. Yet Evan was undeterred. He believed in the power of journalism, in the importance of telling the truth, even when it was uncomfortable or risky. And it was his dedication and commitment to truth that would ultimately put him in the crosshairs of Russia's Federal Security Service. For 6 years, Evan Gershkovich reported from the heart of conflict, covering the war in Ukraine. Undeterred by the chaos and violence that surrounded him, Evan stayed committed to his role as a journalist, a beacon of truth in a world often shrouded in disinformation and propaganda. Evan's work in Ukraine was marked by his relentless pursuit of truth. He delved deep into the lives of those affected by the war, illuminating the human stories that often get lost in the grand narratives of politics and power. He reported on the ground realities, the resilience of the people, and the harrowing experiences they had to endure. Evan's reporting was not just about facts and figures, it was about people, their struggles, and their indomitable spirit. Evan's dedication to his craft was not without recognition. His reporting was widely read and appreciated. People from around the globe tuned into his articles, eager for an authentic glimpse into the heart of the conflict. His work was lauded for its depth, its humanity, and its fearless commitment to the truth. But journalism in a war zone is not for the faint-hearted. Evan often found himself in precarious situations, grappling with the harsh realities of war and the constant threat to his own safety. Yet he never let fear dictate his work. He was driven by a higher purpose, to shed light on the stories that needed to be told, to give a voice to those who were often voiceless in the face of war. In the pursuit of truth, Evan found himself in dangerous situations, yet the real danger was still to come. In March 2023, Evan's dedication to his work led to his arrest by Russia's Federal Security Service. This marked a chilling moment in the history of journalism. Evan Gershkovich, an American journalist on the front lines of the Ukraine conflict, was detained on charges of espionage. This was an unprecedented move, the first time since the Cold War that an American journalist had been arrested in Russia on allegations of spying. The charges were severe. If convicted, Evan could face a sentence of up to 20 years. Yet, to those who knew him and his work, the charges were baseless. Evan was a journalist, a storyteller, not a spy. His only weapon was his pen, his only mission to bring the truth to light. The international response was swift and decisive. The White House condemned the arrest, and media advocacy groups across the globe rallied to Evan's defense. The United States even sanctioned Russia's Federal Security Service in response to the arrest, a clear statement of their stance on the matter. Yet amidst the outcry, whispers of a darker motive began to circulate. Some speculated that Evan's arrest was not about espionage at all, but rather a political maneuver. The theory was that Russia was using Evan as a bargaining chip, hoping to leverage his freedom for the release of high-profile Russians imprisoned abroad. The implications of such a move were profound. It suggested a blatant disregard for the principles of free press and a willingness to use innocent individuals as pawns in a larger geopolitical game. It was a chilling reminder of the risks journalists face when they dare to step into the heart of conflict and controversy. The story of Evan Gershkovich is still unfolding. His arrest has shaken the journalism community and raised serious questions about press freedom in Russia. As we watch and wait, we are reminded of the courage it takes to seek the truth, and the high price those brave enough to pursue it sometimes pay. Evan's arrest sparked a wave of international outrage and a diplomatic crisis. The United States, in a swift and firm response, imposed sanctions on Russia's Federal Security Service, the very organization responsible for Evan's arrest. This bold move marked yet another escalation in the ongoing geopolitical chess match between these two world powers. But it wasn't just a diplomatic jab, it was a statement. A statement that the freedom of press, the safety of journalists, these are values that will not be trampled on without consequence. But the story doesn't end there. Behind the scenes, efforts to secure Evan's release have been relentless. Unseen heroes have been tirelessly negotiating, advocating, and doing everything in their power to bring Evan home. The international community, the media fraternity, and advocacy groups continue to rally behind Evan, keeping his plight in the public eye. It's a battle fought not just in courtrooms and diplomatic circles, but also in the hearts and minds of people around the world. And where does Evan's case stand today? The wheels of justice, as we know, can turn frustratingly slow. His case is ongoing, with the threat of a 20-year sentence still looming large. But it's important to remember that Evan is not alone in this fight. He has the backing of a global community that values truth, freedom, and justice. Evan's story is more than just one man's ordeal. It's a reflection of the world we live in today. A world where the truth can be dangerous, but also a world where people will fight to protect it. It's a testament to the resilience of journalists everywhere, who, despite the risks, continue to shine a light in the darkest corners of our world. Evan Gershkovich's story is a stark reminder of the risks journalists face in their pursuit of truth. His case continues to unfold, and the world watches in anticipation of his release. The story of Evan Gershkovich is not just about one man. It's about the role of journalism in a free society. This tale serves as a stark reminder of the risks journalists around the world face in their pursuit of truth. It underscores the fact that even in the 21st century, the freedom of the press is not a given. It's a right that must be fought for, protected, and upheld. Evan's arrest has significant implications on journalism, especially in regions fraught with conflict and political tension. It signals a worrying trend where reporters are viewed not as neutral observers, but as pawns in a wider geopolitical game. This does not bode well for the future of independent journalism, which relies on the ability to report without fear or favor. The way we respond to this situation is crucial. We must stand in solidarity with Evan and all journalists who risk their lives to bring us the truth. We need to advocate for their safety and their right to work without intimidation or threat. We need to support organizations that protect press freedom and lobby for the rights of journalists. Ultimately, the value of a free press extends far beyond the news we consume. It forms the backbone of a healthy democracy, fostering informed citizens and holding power to account. It's a pillar that we cannot afford to lose. As we await news of Evan Gershkovich's fate, we are reminded of the courage it takes to seek the truth. It's a story that deserves our attention, our concern, and our action. Let's not let it be a story that ends in silence. Let's raise our voices for Evan, for journalism, and for the truth.